Live. It stars Over the Prairie with 8-time Minnesota Music Award-winning songwriter, musician, author, and historian, Paul Metsa. Check out previous show podcasts at KDAL610.com. Now, here's Paul Metsa.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Northland, and where you're streaming from around the world. You are listening to Stars Over the Prairie on the Big KDAL 610 AM, 103.9 FM, streaming worldwide at KDAL610.com. We are broadcasting from in the Zenith City by the Unsalted Sea. We are 237 somersaults down the hill from Bob Dylan's childhood home.
When does it grow again? Because I noticed when we started the show a couple years ago, it was 236.
Well, there was the night that I got to tell you about.
You can't talk about it on the radio.
But, we are in Dillontown, and actually one of our sponsors for this summer, the RockyWallEntertainment.org, has our man we talked to last week, Chris Malky, who is a friend of our guest today, and the great Scarlett Rivera is playing. We tried to get her on last week, but she was in Italy, and our telephone cord didn't reach that far. But what do we do on Stars Over the Prairie? We talk to stars, people that want to be stars, people that used to be stars, people just want to grab a cold one and go outside at night and look at the stars. But we have a good time chatting with all of them. We got two guests today. We'll be bringing up just a little bit. Dan Jensen and Julianne Amendola. And I met Dan I think about 3 or 4 months ago when they were in Duluth. They love coming up to vacation in Duluth, and they came up this weekend. I said, they have great stories, and we're gonna hear all about it. So I said, we got to get you on the radio, and we had a great night last night together. We'll tell you all about that. But before we get there, for you Virgos, if your birthday is today, this is what you've got going on in your life. You have a love-hate relationship with routine. While you crave the security that comes with it, you also enjoy some level of unpredictable and excitement, unpredictability. You love to keep active, and you are energetic, sometimes restless, but you have quick reflexes and strong instincts. We want to wish you a very happy birthday. You're sharing the birthday with some cool people. Other great birthdays today. Jane Addams, who was born in 1860 in Cedarville, Illinois. She was an American pacifist, social activist, and co-founder of the ACLU, and also won the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1931. She passed away in 1935. Joe Kennedy, father of JFK, RFK, and Teddy Kennedy, was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1888, passed away in 1969. Quite a legacy for Joseph Kennedy. I had a friend of mine who I graduated with, Greg Love. He ran a yacht.
Kind of a yacht business or a fishing kind of thing?
No, it was more of a yacht. Take people out, sightseeing.
Like a tour.
Out of Miami. And one of his regular customers, was Ted Kennedy. Oh. And Ted liked to have a couple of cocktails.
So we hear.
And then if he had more than a few, he would like to go swimming. Just jump off in the middle of the ocean. And Greg said they always had to send 2 guys with them just to keep Teddy above water.
And as legend has it, he likes swimming in his car, too, doesn't he?
Oh,
if I remember right.
It's a little dark. It's a little dark, Chris Allen. That's my wingman, bringing up the darker parts of American history. Hey, I know you, because I know enough about your music, Chris Allen, that you dig Pink Floyd. Roger Waters is 82 years old today.
Wow. I have gold versions of The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon. And you can, when you listen with headphones on, you can hear the hum and the buzz of all their amps, and some people walking through the studio. Sometimes if you listen close, you can hear all of that stuff because it's so clear.
What is that, the whole story with The Wizard of Oz and Dark
So that's
Side.
not true, but legend has it that if you play Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and watch Wizard of Oz, that there are things that match up throughout the movie. That has since been, by two of the band members, I think maybe three have said that's all bull. They never did that. It just happens to time out where there are things that match.
Now, what was the Beatles record? They said if you listen to it backwards, it said Paul is dead.
Abbey Road, I believe.
Okay.
Because that's also the one he didn't have shoes on, and I think that's an Indian, the Eastern Indian legend that if you aren't wearing shoes, that you are going to pass away or you're about to die. And so that whole legend came up through that.
You know, if and I'm breaking this news today on Stars Over the Prairie. If you play my first record, Paper Tigers, that came out in 1984, you play that backwards, it says Paul is brain dead.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought it said send the check here.
And I am a little brain dead today because I had a good time with my guest, Dan Jensen, and his lovely gal, Julian Amendola. Dan is an event and public relations guru, business owner, musician, photographer, boater, world traveler, and a hopeless romantic. He says music and drums are his drug of choice. He's done all kinds of things. When I got to know him, when he introduced, I think I was playing, was it last spring, Dan? Mm-hmm. Yep. I was at Carmody's Irish Pub, and he came up and introduced. He knew who I was, and we had just dozens of friends in common.
A few people in common.
More than a few people in common. So they came up this weekend, and they've both have a long history in media, doing various things. And Julianne is currently a bigwig at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. What is the last time you were up? You had a great exhibit there. You gave me some comps. Tips for it.
It unfortunately just closed, but we had the private collection of Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it
fantastic contemporary art collection?
Was it popular?
So popular. Yeah.
And you're a bit of an art collector yourself.
We are. Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of artist friends. So it's great.
Ecumenical.
Yeah. We have a pretty eclectic collection.
Eclectic photography.
Sculpture,
everything.
Painting.
We love
now,
it.
Dan Jensen, but you get started rocking in high school on the drums.
Yep, absolutely. Early band, junior high. Me and my friends starting our band in the basement of my parents' house because I'm the drummer, so that's where we practice.
It's hard to move the drums.
Exactly.
Yeah, so go over the drums. So where did you grow up?
Wilmer, Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might be the one town I've never played in. So what kind of music was the band? What was the name of your first band?
Atlantic.
Okay.
And that was 5 years. That band lasted for 5 years. And it was everything, a mix of everything. But we loved to play 50s, 60s. I have an older brother that got me turned on to the Beach Boys and the Turtles and Jan and Dean. And that really became a big impact. But we played a lot of pop hits, too. So whatever it was, I mean, I remember, playing, My Sharona and Cheap Trick, which were number one hit songs at that time. But then we played all the rest of it. And we got every gig of every class reunion that graduated in the 60s and 70s. If they were having a class reunion, they hired us. Because nobody was playing that vintage stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody does now, it seems like.
Right.
But at that point, nobody was playing...
That's a great...
Beatles, Buddy Holly, Beach Boys for sure. But, yeah, we would do a complete set of the Beach Boys. So
cool. And, Julianne, you grew up in Pittsburgh?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got in... what was your life journey and how did you get into radio? Because she just told me as we were walking in the studio.
And big-time radio, too, not these little podunk stations. Yeah.
She got... And we got to get to the story, but I need a little background on Julianne. But she got Click and Clack started on Car Talk on National Public Radio.
It's a good time. Yeah, so I grew up in Pittsburgh, moved to Boston to go to school, and was a student at Boston University. And at the time, Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers, Tom and Ray, actually had what was just a local show.
Right.
In Boston at our station.
What year would that be?
And
it was a while
Are
back.
you supposed to ask a lady that question? Yeah, it was a while ago. So that would have been like 88.
Right.
87, 88. And so they had this local show, and it was a call-in show, and people loved it. And they also had the garage. So Ray owned the Good News Garage.
Right.
And Tom was a professor at MIT.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were totally real. Like, if you ever listen to Tom and Ray, that's exactly who they were. And the producer of the show was like, God, people really love the show, and people are starting to call in, and we're really picking up some steam. And so we took it to NPR and said, look, we think we got something we can syndicate nationally. And NPR picked it up, and it took off. And
I was a religious listener. I think it was it ran on Saturday mornings in the Twin Cities.
Almost always Saturday morning.
Yeah, and man, those guys were. It was just a great hour of radio.
Yeah.
So, did you ever take your car in and get them repaired by then? Did they give you a deal?
I was a young person in Boston. I did not have a car.
Oh, right.
But I did. We did a sock hop at the garage.
Okay.
So we did a fundraising event, and so we would do events at the garage, which was pretty fun.
So, how many stations did they eventually get on?
Gosh, you might know that. Like
350, 400 stations.
It was
at least,
one of the biggest syndicated
Plus,
programs.
they had a newspaper article that they wrote,
Yeah.
or a syndicated
little column
that it was syndicated across the country. So they did that. They did a lot of ads up until the kind of. I mean, it's still on. Even
reruns.
Yeah, in reruns. It's unbelievable. They still play it. But they were funny because they were afraid to fly. So they didn't want to fly anywhere. So anytime we did an event, and this is our careers intersected because of that, it would always have to be in the area that they could drive to. So one time we did a big event in Orlando with them.
and they drove.
And they drove. And it was just so funny that they wouldn't fly. It was just so funny. But anytime we had a Boston thing, it was like, boom, they were there. It was great.
But you knew when you were waiting for them to arrive that those cars were finely tuned and they weren't going to
Absolutely. Yeah, no, they were hilarious. They were super, super, always nice guys. Like, they were the person who stayed around and signed everybody's autograph. And even the industry would wait in line for them. And even seeing that, there's a lot of stars in public radio, Michael Feldman and Garrison and stuff, but those guys, they were just so enamored with them and
I've
loved
never
them.
seen radio program directors so excited.
Yeah, be
as I did when
fanning
Tom and
out.
Ray showed up.
Even
yeah,
with
they
them.
fanned out.
But they didn't
sure.
show up that often because they could only drive.
Well, it's funny because I might have told the story a while back, but I was playing. I lived in Minneapolis for 40 years, and I was playing in Superior, and my friend Nora Guthrie, Woody Guthrie's daughter. I went out to New York to meet. I got a letter from her out of the blue. Somebody had sent me a cassette. Just a really wonderful couple of years in New York City, Rego Park, 63rd and Queens Boulevard, if you know the city, you know. Yeah. But she met her husband at the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., and his name was Michael, and he was a radio journalist from Germany. So she called me. This would have been, I think, late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I was playing at that, there was a little blues saloon that I think Chris Mackey ran. Chris had the, as part of the Bayfront Blues Festival, but they had a little saloon in Superior. So I was playing there for the weekend, and she said, Michael's going to interview Dave Dudley, of course, who wrote 6 Days on the Road. And he's going to be, can you help him? I said, I'm going to be up there. I was going to give him tips on where to go. I said, I'm going to be up there. Just have him come and track me down at the gig. So we were going to have dinner, Michael, Dave Dudley, and myself. Now, Dave Dudley, the all-time greatest truckers song, 6 Days on the Road, that was recorded at K-Bank Studio in Minneapolis at 26th.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have never known
wow.
that.
Yeah, and I think it was 1963. Anyway, so Michael calls me and says, we're going to be late. Dave's truck broke down on the main street of Duluth.
That's why it's 6 days on the road.
Yeah. Exactly. Didn't make it home that night. So now, Julianne, when did you start? What was your first kind of radio gig then? How did you break in?
Yeah, I was fortunate when I was in school in Boston. One of my student jobs was to work at the station and work with volunteers and whatever they asked me to do. So I started there, and then they hired me on. So I stayed in Boston for a few more years. And then I got recruited to Nashville, Tennessee. Went to work for WPLN in Nashville, which was a big music station, obviously, as well as news. And we launched a bluegrass show. We syndicated a live music program from there.
Wow.
So I worked there really till the early Well, I started there in the early 90s. So I worked there all through the 90s. And then along the path had met this guy.
What?
And ended up in Minneapolis.
Wow.
Yeah, and moved into the arts.
The funny part is when I was working for Public Radio International, I went to WBUR for a meeting, and there was a bunch of students, and they had a mistake in a zip code or something, and they were scribbling it out and rewriting it, and before all automation.
Right.
And I told her that story, and I said, "Yeah, I was at the BUR studios and Car Talk, and they were doing something," and she goes, That was me as a student. And we were in the same room, and then years passed later on. And then she's now working for WBUR, and we're at a conference in Long Beach.
Long Beach. Yeah.
And, and then we go, wait, I think I've met you, but you were a student at that point. She might be younger than me. So.
Julianne, did you ever know there was a guy, Richie, from Minneapolis? He was a folk singer, but he was also, he wrote for the Boston Globe, but he also had a show on WBUR. His name is Scott Alaric. You ever bump into him?
Doesn't ring a bell. No.
He's not with us anymore, but his brother Steve ran the Cafe Extemp, and Scott played around the West Bank back in the day, went out to Boston, wrote a handful of books on folk music, but he was a WBUR regular. Yeah. And he had great radio shows. Yeah, I love that station. Yeah, it was a good time. So we're going to just jump all over here because you guys are just a very fascinating couple. I'm reading your bio, Dan Jensen, and it says you promoted and hosted an event at Alcatraz.
Yes, the second event ever at Alcatraz. And it was a public radio event, but it was for, I think it was about 400 or 500 people. And the first event that was ever there was done by Esprit Clothing.
Okay.
And I mean, I heard stuff that they choppered people in, and first event ever, because now it's a national park at this point, not a prison. And we were working with, what is the station in San Francisco? Doesn't matter. Public radio station. Yeah. And somebody had a connection to the park system, and they said, we could have a party out here. And I go, we're doing it, 100%.
Yeah.
So once all the tourists left the island, all of those shuttle boats took all of our guests out there.
Wow.
And we served Calistoga water and sourdough bread. So we gave them bread and water. And we had an Irish
Did you put
band.
any files?
Yeah, no, we didn't do that. We had... But we had to truck it up the hill. If anybody's ever been to Alcatraz, you go into the mess hall, and that's where we had the party.
Right.
And then they were giving tours, so you would have your tour guides there. Now they do it all by headphones, but at that point it was one-on-one, taking them through the prison. They called it Broadway, that long
kind
thing.
of the Phil Hartman thing.
Yes,
the
exactly.
Phil Hartman
100%, yeah. And it was great. And we had the Thistle and Shamrock was a big public radio show. I don't think it's on anymore. But all like Irish music and stuff. So we had an Irish band that played in the mess hall. It was great. It was like crazy when I think back on it. And that was the second party ever. Now what I've been told is people have weddings out there and big events and corporate parties. But yeah. So
did they, as part of the tour, did they talk about that? The legendary, wasn't it 3 guys that broke out?
Yeah. They don't like to talk about it. Right. Because it didn't happen. They never made it. They never made it out. But at that time, there was even, when we got there, I think I was there for like a pre-thing where I went. And there was a guy signing books down where you come up on the shuttle on the launch. And he was a surviving inmate.
Wow.
And so one of the questions I said, so God, what does it feel like when you go up to the mess hall? And he goes, oh, I never go farther than this spot right here. I never go back up into the prison. Right. But he was signing books. And I mean, he was probably 70 years old or whatever, but he had a book of my life on Alcatraz. And
how many, do you know how many prisoners were there at any one time?
I don't. I mean, it's a big prison. You've never been there? Have you never been there?
No, I've never been in any prison.
Okay, got it. That you know of.
I came close a couple of times, but I have good attorneys.
Yeah, me too. It pays to know good attorneys. I bet there were 300-400.
That's what I
500,
would have guessed.
And then the staff that was on Alcatraz, they actually lived there with their families. So you would do a certain stint, and they had their homes. And I've even met some of the people who were kids when their fathers worked there, and they were there on Alcatraz, but in housing.
Wow.
And so then they would, I don't know, have time off, and they would go ashore, I guess. But it would be just strange because they didn't want them leaving, coming and going every day.
Right.
So you would just live there.
Wow. That's a tad ominous.
Oh, it's weird. Yeah, very weird.
Johnny hasn't come home yet.
I know, right. Where's
But he
Johnny?
knows how to make a shank.
Yeah, exactly. Why does he make wine in the toilet? Okay, we don't know.
Oh, this is great stuff. Hey, we had a great night. So I met Dan and Jules a few months ago, and they were coming to town. So they showed up at Carmony's Irish Pub, where I play every Friday night, usually with the Tiltown Titanettes. Macy was out of town at a wedding, so I had my buddy Al Oikry, who's actually going to play today on the show, but he had a bit of a family emergency, so he had to hike back up north. But we had, I'm sure we had him on the show. Jacob Mann.
Oh, yeah.
He was great. He sat in, did a great little song, and such a great hang down there. And then there was a guy named Floor Leisman. He's from my hometown of Virginia. He was playing afterwards. I listened a little bit. He sounded great. But so Jules and Dan and I hooked up, and we went over to Superior to Soup Town, and had a really quick. That Uber driver was quick.
Yeah, he was quick.
They picked me up at my house in Lincoln Park. I blinked, and there we were at the Cedar Lounge. And we missed Rich Master and the North Stars, although I got a chance to see my good buddy Rich and Jermaine Gemberling, his gal. And but we saw almost a whole set of Trailer Trash.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
So
And
good.
that's the
So
first
good.
time, and you'd never seen him, Dad.
Briefly. I think they played at some Vikings pre-thing or something, and but we weren't there for that, and we missed most of it, so it was like we were maybe in the same room, and that was it. But they were fantastic. I mean, that was the first time I've ever seen that full set. I didn't know who. I didn't get the concept of who they were, but they were unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
They've been playing that great classic country and honky tonk for 25 or 30 years. They used to hold forth at Lee's Liquor Lounge.
Oh.
Yeah.
In right downtown Minneapolis, not too far from where the new Twin Stadium is.
Yeah.
But we're going to listen to a little of Trailer Trash.
We should take a break. We'll listen to him and take a break.
Yeah, that's that. You've been reading my
Took
mind.
it, yeah.
Chris Allen.
It's a short read.
I'm Zach, and I had Z LASIK at Weiss Eye Center. I was sick of wearing glasses. I've had glasses since third grade. Dealing with the nuisance of glasses kind of reached that point of I just need to get LASIK. I was a little nervous, but knowing now what that process all entailed, I wouldn't have been nervous if I knew. Everybody's really nice here. Not a bad thing to say about anybody. Everybody's happy, and everybody here's nice. And I mean, it's day one post-op, and I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Weiss Eye Center is the only clinic to offer blade-free Z LASIK in the Northland. To find out more and to arrange your free consultation, call 218-625-1917 today or visit weisseyecenter.com for more information. Weiss Eye Center. See the best.
You're invited to the Great Lakes Candy Kitchen, open for another season for all your candy pleasure. They're located on Scenic Highway 61, 10 miles north of Duluth in Knife River. They're third and fourth generation candy makers using traditional copper kettles to make their caramels, fudge brittles, and chocolate-dipped hot air. When you visit Great Lakes Candy Kitchen, be sure and try their famous nutty ice cream bar. Tell them you heard it on Stars Over the Prairie. Great Lakes Candy Kitchen, located just 10 miles north of Duluth in Knife River.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa. The phone lines are open. 218-722-0839.
Welcome back, folks, to Stars Over the Prairie. This is your host, Paul Metsa, my wingman, Chris Allen, and my really fun guests, Dan Jensen and Julianne Amendola. There we go. I got it.
You got it.
Just remember Danny, right? Danny Amendola?
That's right. We are not related.
I often
No, but
We are
that's
not
how
related,
I
but
have
I
it
know
in my
of.
head.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Who's
It
that?
works.
I have no
Big,
idea.
big football player.
Played for the
Yeah.
Patriots.
Played for
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it served me well at hotels.
Oh, yeah.
Because
No, it's nice.
when she checks in for us, I have called downstairs and I've said, can I get, oh, yes, Mr. Amendola. And they go, Danny Amendola? I go, yep. If the room service is free, I'm absolutely Danny Amendola.
I went to.
This is what I look like when I shave my beard, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I went to the Tommy Williams hockey camp in Duluth. Tommy was one of the first Americans to play in the NHL, and he was a Duluth native. His whole family was hockey people, and he had a hockey camp in 1968 that I came down. I was a little 12-year-old, plus, I was going to be the next Bobby Hall. And so I came down and did a 3-day camp. It was... and they had Tony Esposito, Phil Esposito as coaches.
Whoa.
Now dig this. I don't know if it was his first year or he already played a year, but I got my picture on the front page of the Duluth News Tribune on the sports page, shaking hands with Bobby Orr.
Oh, wow, man.
Nice.
So I was speaking of, using other people's names to get where you got to go. I was, I don't know, maybe Julianne, you might have heard of Charlie Pierce. He wrote for the Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, we talked about him.
Yeah.
No, I didn't
Phoenix
know of him.
in the Boston Globe.
I know that name, yeah.
Anyway, he's been, got to be a good buddy of mine. I have him on Checkpoint Charlie, his episodes on my show in the cities on AM 950, the Wall of Power radio hour. And I told him about, and he's a big hockey guy, and I told him about the picture. He said, the next time you come to Boston, bring that picture. He goes, you won't have to pay for a drink at any bar you go in.
Oh, that's good.
That sounds about right,
good.
though.
No, that's good.
Now, one thing I love, there's so many things I love about Duluth. I always knew I was going to end up here. But one of the vibes that you two, my guests Dan and Jules, represent is there's so many people in Duluth that are visiting, vacationing, and having a good time. So it's just you get that secondary buzz from the people like you, like the great time we had last night. So tell us about when did you start coming up to Duluth? Did you come up before, Dan?
As a kid.
Yeah.
Yep. Many, many, many times. I mean, this was even before, Duluth is what it is today.
Oh, yeah.
With so much, entertainment, tourism, the restaurants, everything. And we would typically spend some time here. We would always go to the top of the Radisson for the spinning restaurant every time, for Sunday brunch usually. But then a lot of times we would head up to
North Shore.
Yeah, North Shore, like Silver Bay area, and sometimes even up to Hollow Rock Resort, which is way up north. Still there, and then we would always come back and spend some time in Duluth. But sometimes we would just spend time at Canal Park when there was a Holiday Inn and the Harbor Inn and all those. But it was very industrial yet at that point.
Right.
I think the Holiday Inn was the only hotel maybe. And that rest of that Canal Park was just industrial.
Well, I really think, because I played in Duluth quite a bit from '84 on, still do. And Chris Allen, my wingman, you might be able to shed a little more light on. I really think that Canal Park really started to reinvent itself once the Lake Walk went in.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because before the Lake Walk, there was, you're probably thinking of the old warehouse club that was down there and everything. Yeah. They were just kind of hollowing out buildings and turning them into something. And then when the Lake Walk went in, that's kind of when they started to plan it out for more touristy kind of things. So, yeah, you're right.
Yep. So, Jules, when did you come up for the first time to Duluth? What were your impressions?
I love it here. So the first time, here's a quick story. So the first time he takes me up here, he picks me up at the airport in Minneapolis. I'm still in Nashville. I fly in. He said, we're going up to northern Minnesota. I said, great. So we drive all the way up to Cove Point Lodge.
Yep, Cove Point.
I remember where we stayed. And it takes me out there. There's nobody.
Right.
And it's gorgeous. But I realize no one knows where we are. Something could happen to us, and no one would ever find us.
If you scream, no one will hear you.
If you scream, no one will hear you. So we have a great couple of days up there. We're driving back through Duluth, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, this is Pittsburgh.
Yeah, right.
Because it's got the hills, Now, of course, Pittsburgh's all rivers, not a lake, but it's just like the same kind of, and when you drive up and you get that vista of the lake, like you come through the tunnel in Pittsburgh, it's like the same thing. And they had an incline, and I'm like, it just feels like
and everything
so
with the
familiar
industry of iron ore and the steel
and that's so
industry
connected,
and so connected,
right? Because all the steel in Pittsburgh. So we're driving back. We come back past Fitkers. We stop, and I turn to the right, and there's a building, and it says Amendola Construction.
Really?
I think it just had the Amendola name on
like,
it. And
oh my God! It's a sign.
I didn't know it.
It's a sign from God.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know a lot
Duluth.
about this, but they are a big construction family in this city. I don't really know anything about it.
Are they, Chris?
I will find
But
out.
Amendola Construction.
I've heard the name before.
But
I don't know how big they are anymore.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I know it just
at one point they were one of the majors.
They do
so
ask her every once in a while, "Are you related to that family?" They will ask her that.
I just say yes.
It's an Italian family, you know. So
Now, Dan, you as a musician, you've been, there was no greater for the last 40 years when you and I came of age, especially in the 80s. There was
Exactly.
no greater music scene than in Minneapolis.
absolutely.
You had Prince, of course, and then the punk scene that started in the mid to late 70s. You had Husker Du and the Replacements, Suburbs, and so many bands. So you, like myself, really got to enjoy all that great music in the Twin Cities. But you went on. Tell us about some of the national artists and international artists you've worked with.
Yeah, well, luckily, I because of my broadcast background and my the music background, I got to work with Miles Davis in the last part of his life.
What did you do for Miles?
We did a radio show called the Miles Davis Radio Project.
Wow!
And it was really they followed him around on stage, rehearsals, everything like that. So it was really cool. And I remember, one of the last times I met him, and he passed away not too long after that. But Prince was a huge fan of his too.
Yeah.
So
and vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah, and there's supposed to be a bunch of stuff in the vault of Miles and Prince together. But being backstage with Prince and Miles was and that was at either the State or the Orpheum. I think it was the State.
I saw a Miles Davis show at the Orpheum.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Could have been the Orpheum.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, could have been. I know it's one or the other. And Prince sat up in the upper balcony part, but then later on we were backstage, and so that was cool, and that was really neat. But Keb Mo worked with Keb quite a bit. We were just talking about Keb the other day because the crowd was not quiet enough for him, so he stopped the show and said, "You can either listen or I can leave."
Wow.
Which was great. Trying to think of who else. I worked with the Beach Boys for a little bit.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit last night about, was it Dennis Wilson? Was the Beach Boy you got to know?
Mike Love. Yeah, it was more Mike
okay.
Love. Yeah, because he had a thing called Project Teach, which raised money that funded people to go to school to be teachers.
Right.
So I got to do a little on the road with them. It was a blip and very cool and way cooler today than it was then. It was just a thing that I did, but it was very cool. And I'm a huge Beach Boys fan.
My buddy, Billy Alcorn, who's lived in Nashville for last, went down there, lives in Nashville, went down as a songwriter, and then he had a cut with Phil Vassar. Then he drove a bus for Phil, and he ended up making good money driving bus for everybody from Brian Wilson to Ozzy Osbourne and the rest. But so Brian was playing at the State Theater, and he got me in to the sound check, and they had, I think, the Wonderments about 13
we were at that show.
Yeah,
absolutely.
During the sound check, so they're singing. There's like 10 or 12 vocalists.
Bad.
Brian stops and goes, "Third tenor is flat."
Yeah, that's Brian.
That's
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm Joe, and I had Z LASIK at Weiss Eye Center. The funny thing is, I absolutely hated buying a contact solution because I thought it was such a racket having to spend $15 on a bottle of contact solution. And that's just one thing, is just not having to buy that stuff anymore, or glasses or anything like that. For me, it's mainly just I like to hunt and fish and everything, and not having to bring that stuff along, especially in the winter when I go ice fishing and stuff. It gets a pain when I get to the end of the day taking my contacts out, and then if a rattle reel goes off in the middle of the night, I'm fumbling for my glasses to go and try and catch a fish.
Weiss Eye Center is the only clinic to offer blade-free Z LASIK in the Northland. To find out more and to arrange your free consultation, call 218-625-1917 today or visit weisseyecenter.com for more information. Weiss Eye Center. See the best.
Rocky Wall Entertainment is thrilled to announce 6 exclusive Rocky Wall Benefit House concerts featuring nationally renowned musicians in a one-of-a-kind, intimate North Country log lodge setting. We will have 6 shows this summer, and the bands generously donate their time and talent to perform these house concerts to help Rocky Wall Entertainment raise funds to fund the free Music in the Park concert series. More information and tickets available at rockywallentertainment.org/events/house concerts.
You're listening to Stars Over the Prairie with Paul Metsa right here on KDAL.
Yeah, so I'd like to thank Nelson French and the gang up there at Rocky Wall Entertainment for supporting the show all summer. I'm not sure if there's tickets for the private show tonight, which is a fundraiser for everything they're trying to do up there in Silver Bay. But go to rockywallentertainment.org and see if there's some tickets and go see them. Our buddy Chris Mulkey. Yeah, with the great Scarlett Rivera. How do you know Chris?
Through Renee. Because I had no idea that Chris was from this area. I didn't know anything about it. And at one point, Renee goes, we're going to play with Chris Mulkey. I think we played at Famous Dave's.
Yeah.
I think. And I'm like, Chris Mulkey? Like the actor?
Right.
Why would he be here playing with you? Cool, but why? Right. And she goes, well, he's from here.
Yeah.
We start to talk a little bit. Jewel goes, Chris Mulkey, and you know his sister.
I know his sister, Diane.
Okay.
Because she worked at the Guthrie.
So she had a connection to Chris's sister.
But I didn't know. She never talked about Chris being her brother, and so I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So
it's funny when you say Chris Mulkey.
Because when
Mulkey calls me, he goes, Paul Metsa.
Oh, my God, that's so funny.
Because I've got a song called Jack Ruby, and it goes, Jack Ruby. It's funny. It's a 12-verse song. Talk about, here's an example of a guy and his buddy that has a little too much time on their hands. So back when I was living on 18th and LaSalle, at this beautiful third floor of this beautiful old mansion built by Sumner McKnight from the McKnight Foundation.
Cool.
Yeah, it was just a beautiful place. And I got a call about 3. I used to, I always took pride in the fact that my number back then was in the phone book. Give me a call. Because I remember when I moved to Minneapolis, I saw Leo Kotke's name in the phone book.
Oh, come on.
I said, now that's a man after my own heart. But anyway, it has 12 verses, and at the end of every verse and the chorus, I repeat Jack Ruby.
Yeah.
So this guy and his buddy called me up there, obviously hammered, about 3 in the morning. I go, Metsa, do you know how many times you say Jack Ruby and Jack Ruby? I go, no, I've never counted. They go, 46.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah.
That's 2 guys with a little too much time on their hands.
Yeah, way too much time.
Now, Jules, let's talk, we like to name drop here on Stars of the Prairie.
I love it.
But talk about some of the great artists who you really enjoyed working with.
Yeah, so we did this amazing show with Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz, and they were fantastic and like larger than life and cool, just super cool.
And spent a lot of time in the Twin Cities for the show. So it wasn't like it was their show and we didn't see them. They were there.
Yeah. One of the cool things about the Minneapolis Institute of Artists that we do work with artists from all over the world. So we did we didn't do a show, but we have art in the collection by an artist named Kehinde Wiley, who is an African-American artist, lives in L.A. We actually met him in Miami at a contemporary art fair, Fish Fry.
Oh, cool.
And he's got some amazing stuff. He was great to work with. We worked with a Chinese artist whose name is Liu Dan, and he created a painting for us, and it was to watch him do the work and the brushstroke, and it was just incredible. So I'm really fortunate. I get to meet
And
a
what's
lot of
coming
great
up
people.
at the Institute?
So the next show opens at the end of October is ancient bronze sculpture from the Royal Collection of Angkor in Cambodia.
Wow.
So it's a partnership between the Royal Museum in Cambodia and there's an Asian art museum in Paris called the Guimet. And so they work together to put an exhibition, a traveling exhibition of very rare, recently excavated Cambodian sculpture.
Wow.
So it's coming to the Twin Cities.
Now, because you've got a great media background, but you're also an art lover. It's the perfect gig for you.
It is. It kind of is.
Come on.
Yeah, somehow the stars aligned. The stars over the prairie came together in my favor.
See what you did there?
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Wait, I got something for that.
There we go.
Now, Dan, you're also you guys live on Lake Minnetonka,
yes.
right? And you are an accomplished sailor.
We love it. I've sailed my whole life. I've had little sailboats, big sailboats. We've sailed in the Caribbean more than once, and we love that. So it's great.
In Key West, in
Yep,
Hawaii.
Key West, Hawaii.
What is your most dangerous moments on the boat, and what body of water?
Probably Lake Minnetonka.
On the 4th of July.
Yeah, 4th of July, yeah. But, pulling loose, the anchor pulls loose in a storm. And that just happened last year. But we've had 2 or 3 of them like that. And we're like, this is it. This is not going to end well. But we got out of it, so we lived.
Back when Cats Under the Stars, who will be playing, I might add, at the refurbished Arrowhead Bar right next to Kaylink's Candies in Virginia for their grand opening on September 20th. We started out as a bluegrass country band. Then we started playing country rock. We picked up a drummer and bass player. When we moved to Minneapolis, we kind of patterned our trio after Rio Nito.
Oh, cool.
We had 3-part harmonies like we did Mills Brothers and 30s and 40s jazz, but we did a wedding party on Lady of the Lake.
Oh, yes.
Excelsior.
Yep.
And I remember it because it was a unique wedding party. There was the bride and groom and some family members and a male and female stripper.
Oh, okay.
That's
something for everyone.
That's how you guys are rocking on the Lake Minnetonka. But I remember I was out there. Was I playing? I don't remember exactly, but it was the 4th of July. But you could literally walk across that lake just on top of boats.
Yeah, like that cruiser bay, that party bay area on Big Island. Yeah, you can literally walk across the boat.
Yeah. Now, wasn't there? I'm trying to think of. There was some guy, he was an event producer. He did a lot of shows out on one of the islands on Lake Minnetonka. Do you know who I'm talking about? Because I know he had Ronnie Hawkins, who had Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks that became the band.
Yeah.
Not Rick
it's
Bourne.
passing me up.
And now Rick Bourne. Does that sound right?
I know his name, too.
Yeah. He brought out a lot of people for parties and stuff. He would bring out some of the Eagles and different concerts and shows that he would have. That's probably who you're. Yeah, and he. I think he still owns it, but the Minnetonka Boat Works in Excelsior there. Right. But he had a big house. He doesn't have that house anymore. But and then boats would. Everybody would find out about it, which does happen often. Yeah. Like Marty Davis, Cambria guy. He'll have shows and concerts, and then everybody finds out about it and then pulls up. But it's usually a fundraiser or something.
Yeah.
But on the lake, you just pull up your boat and.
How long have you been on the lake?
33 years.
Because one of my first gigs when I moved to Minneapolis was at Lord Fletcher's.
Oh, yeah. Oh. So we can walk there. That's how close we are.
There was a guy, I believe, he was a British guy. His last name, Alan Bell. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah. I
wonder if he's still around.
I don't know.
He'd be old if he was.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of the history of that one. But yeah, that definitely, I remember who that is. Yeah.
Now, Dan, so what is your, we've got Jewel. She's busy over at the Institute of Art. What is your next project?
The next one, I'm working on a couple of things. One is called Museum Sage, and it actually takes people who were working with the museum, with Mia, and look at pieces of art and see what it speaks to you. And see, it helps you to do your next direction in your life. And it's pretty cool. And when I first heard about it, I'm like, yeah, really? But it really does work, and people really love it. So that's one of the things I'm working on. And got a couple of book projects that we're working on with people, and a couple more events. COVID was tough on the event, PR, music business, as we all know. So I still say it's coming back. That's why we love to come to Duluth, because there's live music everywhere. It's sometimes more than Minneapolis today, I got to say.
Oh, no. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Well, we just have a few minutes left with my guests, Julianne and Dan Jensen. And I saw a really interesting clip by Bill Murray the other day. He was really dejected. He was working in Chicago at Second City, and he was contemplating suicide, of all things. And he took a long, long walk, and he got to the Chicago, was it the Museum of Modern Art?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the door was open, he walked in, and he saw a painting of a woman out in the field, toiling away, with the sun coming up behind her. And he goes, that's it. He goes, that sun is going to come up for me. And talked about how that painting literally saved his life.
Oh, my God.
Let's talk about, Julianne, let's talk about visual art.
Yeah.
What can you tell? How does it affect you?
Oh, I think that's the perfect story, right? I am lucky to hear that from people all the time, that there's a piece or a show or something they've seen that just changes their whole perspective on the world. I mean, that's at its best, I think, what art can do, and be a place. We always say, and one of the great things about working at MIA is it's free, right? And so people can come in, and it's a social experience if that's what you want. It's a respite. It brings solace, which I think we can agree we live in challenging times. So, people need that place of perspective.
It's centrally, I lived in South Minneapolis for the first 20 years I was in town, and it's so beautifully centrally located. Yeah. It's just right in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It must feel good when you see the kids come.
Oh, yeah.
So many kids. Yeah.
That's when I started to go to the museum, when I was like 5, 6 years old. I was going there since I've been 3 years old, but as school kids going to the museum, it's one of the things we have sponsored in the past is buses getting kids to the museum.
Nice.
From especially rural Minnesota, because they don't have that in their town, so they can come and see the museum.
Well, I just think it's you guys have a really fascinating relationship, and I love how your love of art, both of you, how it intersects with what you do for a living.
It is amazing.
Yeah, and it's really the best of all worlds.
It is. Yeah, it is truly.
So what's your next? We got to thank Duluth, Minnesota for hooking
absolutely,
us up.
100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have known you forever, and in the public atmosphere, but I just thought, oh my God, he's playing at Carmody's. We've got to go there, and we had not gone to Carmody's that much before. Once or twice, we stayed across the street from it. We went to St. Patty's Day there, I think, one time. Yeah. And it was like, you're playing, we're going to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then we figured out we had like 3,000 people in common.
Yeah, exactly. Including Bobby Vandell.
Bobby Vandell, exactly. And Matt Fink, too.
Yeah,
who I think is in Sonoma or Napa and listening.
Yeah. Dr.
Fink.
Dr. Fink from Prince's Band. It's just, let's just say a few words about the great Eddie Gleason, the owner.
Eddie, so
is
cool.
He like the perfect bar owner?
Yeah. And
he is
fascinating.
from Central Casting, sure.
I didn't realize how colorful his
I had him on the radio show when we first started. Geez, we've been on the air for now a year and a half. And I had Eddie on, and I asked him a question. And he goes on, because he's a Duluth boy and, was a cop in Chicago. He's got tons of stories. And Irish Jew, and he starts on the ramble. And about 45 minutes later, I said, Eddie, if we can get back to that first question I had.
Yes. That was last night. Yeah, that was last night.
But it was really so you guys are staying, through tomorrow? You're going to stay
through Monday.
Through Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
So we're going up to Two Harbors tomorrow.
Do the Harvest Fest a little bit today.
Cool.
Yeah.
Two Harbors to go to the Ledge Rock.
Yeah.
As we like to call it, couple of harbors.
Yep, exactly.
All right. We got Julianne, pronounce your last name?
Amendola.
And Dan Jensen. This has just been incredibly fun.
Agree.
Go down, get to the Minneapolis Institute of the Art.
Yep.
You can follow me at paulmetsa.com. You get my records and books at River City Records over there on 18th and Superior Street in the West End. Thanks so much. I play every Friday night at Carmody's Irish Pub from 5:30 to 7:30. Like my dad just said, remember to be kind and make someone happy.
And I wish I could see stars over the prairie, stars over the prairie tonight. And I wish I could see stars over the prairie.